A European green crab is an invasive crab species that obviously originates in Europe, and it made its way to various spots all over the world. They made it to the east coast of North America more than 100 years ago. From there, they eventually made it to the west coast. They arrived in San Francisco Bay in the 1980s and have been creeping their way north ever since. And in recent years, they've made it into the Strait of Juan de Fuca, now starting to pop up in various locations near us in Puget Sound. Well, they're considered one of the worst aquatic invasive species. They do a lot of damage to the environment. They are ravenous eaters. They eat shellfish, clams, mussels, oysters, smaller crabs, baby crabs from the species that we like to harvest, like Dungeness crabs. They also will decimate eelgrass. Without the eelgrass, everything suffers, from salmon to orcas, and they actually call them ecosystem engineers because they can transform an area to something else that's more suited to their needs and less suitable to some of the native species that we have here. Folks that aren't really familiar with all these crabs, to identify the green crab is to look for those 5 marginal teeth on either side of the eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you come to the eye. In 2022, the European green crab was declared a state emergency by the governor. Here in the Tulalip area, we're in early detection mode. We don't have them here yet, or at least they have not been detected. There's a protocol for early detection work. It was established by Washington Sea Grant, and it involves using 2 different types of baited traps, setting them once a month from April to September, pulling them the very next day, seeing what you've got in the traps. I'm also using an experimental habitat trap that I've developed to try to pick up crabs that might be in slightly different areas than where you can put baited traps. This experimental habitat trap that I'm working on, I call it a crab slab. Well, a crab slab is a habitat trap that doesn't actually trap animals until you get there and put the little door in front of it. I designed it to simulate a flat rock that is raised up off of the substrate a little bit, which is very attractive to green crabs. They'll go hunker down under these things. I wanted to make these habitat features and put them in areas that you cannot put baited traps. And you can leave them out there, and crabs and other creatures can go in and out and use these areas as habitat. And then when we go out to check them, you just close the door, lift the lid, and see what's in there. Collaboration is an important aspect of green crab. But one thing that we're doing here at Tulalip is sharing our innovations and our work with other tribes and organizations within this larger collaborative group to help others maybe find other tools to use in their toolbox against these crabs. The Tulalip Reservation has green crabs, and they were interested in trying out these crab slabs. So I made them a bunch and took them out and helped them install these things.
So we're here on the Tulalip Reservation, and green crab were first introduced here in 2017. They were first found by a tribal member in the Wyatch River. When it was brought to the attention of Tulalip Fisheries Management, the tribe's marine ecologist, Adrienne Okmasian, created a program to essentially remove as many of the green crab as possible while also trying to monitor the native species to see if there is any declines that we can associate with the presence of European green crab. It's going to take some time before we're really able to figure out the impacts that can be posed, but we have a variety of research studies going on to kind of assess some of the behavioral interactions with some of the more important native species. And so when we met Todd and said he had an idea for a crab slab that could be used as potentially a passive form of removing green crab, we were very interested because we spend a lot of money on bait. It's a very big cost, and so potentially finding a way to forgo that, as well as just one of our biggest constraints is just time, people, and resources, just because you can have as many traps as you can to trap green crab, but you can only have so many people to put those traps out. And so having a trap that you can actually leave out and not have to worry about, that's one of the biggest parts of our removal trapping, is that we don't want to harm the native species. And so the crab slab is a great way of avoiding that altogether. So they're not actually trapped in there, they just kind of pursue it on their own accord. And while it allows the more sensitive species like the fish to kind of go in and out with the tides. And so when Todd first brought this idea to our attention, we were very excited to try it out. So one very important thing to acknowledge is that invasive species don't see borders. And so if we really do want to combat this species and respond to it the best we can, there has to be collaboration across borders, and that not just agencies within the state as well as tribes, but also just across states and also across countries. Green crab are all along the coast, and so if we really want to make an impact, there has to be large-scale collaboration.
My goal is to know it when a green crab shows up in our area of the world here, because if you can detect them early enough, then you have a chance of controlling them before they become established enough to do a lot of damage to the environment, to fisheries. We like to think that when the green crabs show up here, because they eventually will, we will know it, and we are ready to get on top of them and control them. So Tulalip is on it, I'm proud to say.